They are my phone just said trying to reconnect. Hopefully I didn't lose anything. Some of these are smaller, some of them are bigger. There are some in the bins that are bigger than this. There are some that are smaller than this. They have been in the root cellar since last fall. And so if the word radish or the idea of a radish scares you because you don't like spicy things, these are going to be very different. They've had all winter to mellow out, so that spiciness has really gone away. I sampled several different ones today, and there were different levels of spiciness. One was hardly spicy at all. It didn't even taste like a radish almost. And then another was just like the least spicy radish I've ever tasted. So if you're scared of raw radishes and don't like the peppery taste, these would be good for you. If they're still a little too much raw for you, you can always cook radishes and use them like you would potatoes. They will go well in a soup or a stew. And they are a lower carb than potatoes. So a lot of people like to sub radishes for potatoes, and because they're so big, they go a long ways. Now, if you're gonna eat them raw, there's no need to peel them. There's not really a peel on them. There's sort of a layer that might peel away as you cut it, but it's not really a peel. You don't have to peel it. When you cut into them, they are beautiful. They're pink, like hot pink in the middle. I meant to get some samples out. We will have samples for you to taste at the pickup, by the way. So these are a favorite of not just our family, but a lot of people, CSA members over the years have said these are really great for radishes. So let's see, storage, I would keep them in a plastic bag in the fridge. The more vegetables are exposed to air in your fridge, the more they'll dry out, and these will get, like over time, they'll get kind of rubbery. They're still good to eat. They're just not as good. They're not as crisp. Really, I don't think I've ever had one go bad. Like, I've had them in my fridge all winter, and the ones in the root cellar kept better because the air is so humid in the root cellar. In the fridge, the air is dry, so they'll want to get dried out even if they're wrapped in plastic. But really, you could keep this a long time. This is something that would last for weeks and weeks in your fridge. But don't wait that long because they'll be better the fresher you eat them. Let's see, store in the fridge, don't peel them. Oh, they're really good fermented. If you're into fermenting vegetables or if you want to try that, just slice them. You can cut them up however you want. Diced, I've done sliced, I've done like matchstick shapes. I would put them in a jar of filtered water with a quart jar with a teaspoon of salt, maybe some dill. I haven't tried that before, but I'm thinking dill would be good. And leave it on your counter for several days. Make sure to burp it as the bubbles start to come up. It'll taste kind of like a radish, kind of like a pickle, especially if you add dill and maybe garlic. I think that's what I'll try. So that's the watermelon radish. Hey, Matt, Deborah, and Julie are all watching. Thank you for tuning in. If you have questions about the watermelon radish and you want to type them in, the video will be several more minutes long probably, and I'll be able to answer questions, hopefully live. All right, so the next item I'm going to talk about is the rhubarb. Most people are familiar with it. Looks a little bit like celery. It does, when you cut it, have a little bit of a string like celery, but not quite as much. It's more on the outside layer. Really good in desserts, obviously, but I found that link that was in the email, Dr. Axe, I think it was like healthy rhubarb recipes or something, and they were all, it was a link with a lot of different links within it. They were all non-dessert recipes. They were kind of weird. I'd never heard of any of them, and I thought that would be fun to try. This will be the only week we have rhubarb. We don't have a lot of plants, so I'm hoping that Matthew will plant more. I keep telling him, yeah, we need to plant more rhubarb, more rhubarb. So hopefully next year we'll have more than just 1 week. Let's see. It's really tart. If you've never had it, you should try it. Next item. Spring onions. I put a little link in the email about the difference between green onions and spring onions, and what's the other green onion word? You know what I'm talking about. Scallions. It came to me. Spring onions are ones that are planted in the fall, and then you harvest them in the spring. And they have a little bit more of a bulb down here than a regular green onion would. I forget, I think in the link it said that maybe they were a little bit more strong than a scallion. And I think I remember last year Melissa Grandin making some sort of a pesto or like a dip out of these, and they were super strong. Correct me if I'm wrong if Melissa ends up watching this. So you might want to just give it a little taste before you decide to eat them raw. We enjoyed them in an egg casserole that I'm going to put a recipe on the group later, hopefully today. Whatever you use onions in. Our favorite though is to grill them. So put a little oil, salt and pepper, probably that's all you need. Right on the grill or in a foil packet. You could do one of those sheet pan meals and roast them in the oven, or just these roasted in the oven. They are so good. Storage with both of these, the rhubarb and the onions, would be wrapped in plastic in your fridge. Yeah, we'll keep them more crisp that way. All right, let's go on to the leafy things. I've got collard greens. This is the shape of a collard green leaf. We grow a little bit different variety. Obviously it's an heirloom variety, and these particular leaves are more delicate. The ones you get in the store are really tough, and you have to cook them a long time to make them edible, I guess. But these you can actually eat raw. You could tear it up in a salad. You can eat it however you want to eat cabbage. Sometimes I will use it like a wrap, kind of like a taco shell, or whatever, lunch meat or cheese or whatever you want to put inside of a wrap or a sandwich. You could use this as a bun substitute. And then there are a ton of collard green recipes online as far as southern style and that. And then the other leafy green we have this week is kale. Probably our most popular leafy green thing besides lettuce. It's a curly German variety, Gruner Haberhauser or something like that. I don't know what the name is for the heirloom variety. What I do with kale, because the stem is really tough, you probably don't want to eat those. I just hold it like this and pull, and there's the stem, here's the leaf. And then I would, for these two, collard greens, you might eat the stem, but probably not. Same thing, just strip it right down, really easy. Now if you want to use it for a wrap, you can probably just avoid eating that part, or try it. I think I've done both. And let's see, then I would put them in a big bowl or a sink of really cold water, swish them around, and then use a salad spinner. Since we're growing on the landscape fabric this year, things are going to be less dirty. There's going to be less just dirt, because when the rain would splash in the dirt, it would splash up onto the leaves, and we'd get a lot of dirt and grit on the leaves. This year I think it'll be cleaner on the collard greens and the kale, the Swiss chard, the cabbage, and the Chinese cabbage. The lettuce is still grown just on the dirt, so we'll have to wash that more. Okay, how to eat kale. Raw or cooked. Freezing is super easy if you get extra. Really, literally just, you wouldn't even have to wash it. I would wash it first, because you probably don't want to wash it after it thaws. So do that, swish in the water, spin in a salad spinner, take the stems out. You'll thank yourself later when you get it out of the freezer that part is done. And then stuff it in a freezer bag, put the date on it, squeeze the air out, and freeze it. That's as easy as it gets. You don't have to blanch it or anything like that. A lot of our members had kale all through the winter because we had so much last year, and I'm sure we will have more again this year. So that's a really good one to freeze. Let's see, am I forgetting anything? I think that's it for the kale. And then we have our herbs. I'll start with the tarragon. It looks like this, really long, thin leaves on it. Tarragon has like a licorice sort of a anise flavor, and it's good with fish. Some people like it in their smoothies, and there's something else. Pesto. It makes a really good pesto instead of basil. There are a lot of tarragon pesto recipes. Same thing, similar, I guess, with the stem coming out of the kale. You just want to hold it up high and run your hand down. Ta-da! They're simple. All the leaves are off. You want to pick any, like some of the bottom ones had a little bit of brown on them. I'll pick those out. And then the little leaves at the top, I probably didn't pinch it up as high as I could have, but there's going to be this little tuft at the top that I just pinch off. And the stem up there is not very thick. And then you just probably dice it up and throw it in whatever recipe you're doing. That is tarragon. I know some people preserve herbs by freezing them in little ice cube tray packets. I've never tried it myself, but that's a tip you might want to check into if you want to preserve it. And then we have oregano. The leaves on the oregano are like little, what shape is that? It's not a diamond, it's not a heart, almost a heart. And then the top is really pretty, it looks like this. And it smells obviously like oregano. I mean, you're not gonna mistake it probably for anything else. I think you can do the same thing with this. Just strip the leaves off when you're gonna add your leaves to your recipe. And then this is peppermint. It's, you know, the leaves on this are about the same as the oregano, but they're much bigger and they have a tooth edge and they're a little bit fuzzy. The stem is more fuzzy. They're a lot bigger. I mean, compare the oregano to the peppermint. You're also gonna notice the difference in the smell. This has a beautiful top on it that's nice for like a garnish on a dessert. You just pinch those top few leaves off and set them on your dessert. People are going to be really impressed, like that. And then my favorite is just pinch off 4 leaves, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put them in the bottom of a teacup. Pour boiling water over, 5 minutes. I don't even like peppermint tea, and this is good. It's really good that way. Let's see. You can just eat it, just raw. Some people like them in mojito. And then there are the chocolate recipes that have peppermint. So let's see, am I forgetting anything with herbs? I would plastic bag anything leafy green. I'm a fan of just wrapping them in plastic and keeping it in the fridge. Basil is the only exception. When we have basil, you do not want to refrigerate it. It is sensitive to cold and it will turn black in the fridge. So you want to put it in a cup of water and leave it out on the counter. You could put these herbs like with their stems if you think you're going to be more than a few days. Put them in a glass of water and cover them with a plastic bag to keep the moisture in. Like I said, the refrigerator is really dry air and that will make your leaves all limp and sad. So you could cover those with a plastic bag, leave them in the fridge, but give them some water to drink if you think you're going to be longer than a few days. But all of the herbs were harvested just today, so you have plenty of time to be able to use those. I saw some like 4 or 5 other people tune in. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I'll give you a minute to type them in, but we'll be at the pickup as always. Both of us are generally available to answer questions, so if you think of something, let me know. Really excited that tonight's the first night. I'm sad that we missed last night, but you know, what are you gonna do when there's hail and tornadoes possible? So I will see you tonight. Have a great afternoon.